like keystone events or boosted events that we want people to reach, just like they would in a game.
We've always been a steady beast, kind of just powering along, and our focus has been on ensuring we're driving high performance for our clients who are game publishers, and ensuring we're driving a really high quality experience for our users, and making sure they're getting the right rewards at the right time in a really personalized experience.
Hello and welcome back. We are here at the PocketGamer.biz podcast with myself, Peggy and Salz, and Craig Chapple, my co-host, who has been epic today. I think it's your third podcast today, is it not, Craig?
Yeah, I'm running on a few podcasts now, probably per day. It's all got to be about video these days, so it's wonderful to be on the podcast. So hello, everybody.
And your weekend mobile, your mobile games wrap is also rocking it. So yeah, this is over on the sort of the weekly bit, but you guys also do a great wrap. So great to have you.
Yeah, be sure to check it out after you listen to this episode.
Yes, we will do a shameless plug now, but no, seriously, it is good, and we'll have it in the show notes. So today we're going to talk about a topic that's been out there, right, Craig? It's rewarded, but it's not the rewarded we know, because when we started this conversation a couple of years back, rewarded was like, hey, it had arrived as a UA channel. It drives installs, it drives engagement, it scales. But since then, interestingly enough, the market has changed. And now we're in what Sensor Tower is calling the monetization-first era, right? It's not just, are we getting players? It's, what are we getting them to do? Are we driving deeper engagement? And that is where a little bit of the tension comes in, because rewarded was about UA. The future is about monetization happening deeper in the journey. So that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at not where this is, but where this is going. And to look at that evolution, it makes sense to talk to people who've seen it firsthand. Francesca ReDavid, she is VP of Product Growth at Mistplay. And what's interesting here is that, Francesca, you didn't start in product. You started in advertising, UA, lifecycle marketing. So you have seen it from all sides. And of course, that's the holistic perspective we need. So we're lucky to have you. So welcome. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you guys.
Then we've got Aaron. Aaron Thandi is Chief Commercial Officer at Mistplay. And you've seen it because you've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, 15 years across ad tech. So you're sitting at that intersection, Aaron, of UA, performance, commercial growth. So you are a perfect fit here. And again, great to have you.
Great to be here and great to see you again, Peggy. Thanks.
Something's different. Rewarded had its moment. And then that moment has shifted, as I said, monetization, feeling like it's the prize. But what genuinely feels different about rewarded right now? I'll start with you, Francesca.
What genuinely feels different about rewarded is our desire to be a first-class channel for user acquisition. And with that, we've been focusing on deeper monetization, deeper engagement. And I think that's different than the way what rewarded was treated in the past or seen in the past, which was, as you mentioned, a little bit about top of funnel engagement as a source to users. But now I think we are seeing rewarded as not only a source to acquire new users, but also to acquire high quality users that will stay and retain those games.
Aaron, you have anything to add there?
Like you said, Peggy, I've been doing this a long time. Rewarded's been around for a while. It's had many different names. But in this current moment in time, I think it's really solidified itself as a key part of marketers' UA channels and UA's mix, right? UA managers, marketers are always looking to diversify the mix. Rewarded's always been there a little here and there. There's been tests, there's been pauses, optimizations. But now as we've rolled through to, I would say 2024, going into 2025 and now into 2026, I think it's firmly positioned in the stack. And we've seen the share of wallet significantly grow year over year in terms of the piece of the pie that game publishers are allocated to reward. And I think that speaks to its success, its scale, its growth, and as Francesca mentioned, its quality of the users it's now driving through. Tweaks needed, but I think it's a tremendously exciting time.
Craig, how about you? I mean, here we are. You're a little bit of an OG. Absolutely. You've been covering Rewarded and UA for years. Are they right? Is this what you're also seeing? What studios are maybe talking about, that Rewarded is, yeah, it's here, but it's maybe different.
It was about 2 years ago, and it was there where it was like, oh, like Rewarded UA is like kind of here, right? And there was a few new companies as well popping up. It became quite highly competitive. So there's quite a lot of buzz around it.
It did have several names, and there was also, back in the days when it was incentivized and we didn't talk about it too much. So let's level set for everyone listening in, defining Rewarded in super simple terms. What is it really for someone in our audience who might not specialize in it, might not have done it yet, but is certainly wondering what all the excitement is about?
For those who haven't been exposed to it, which I'd be surprised, I think everyone's probably dabbled in it a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
But essentially, the idea is giving players, users a place to discover new games. And as they then choose to engage with those games, play those games, spend in those games, they are getting rewarded for it. And I think in everyday life, there are rewards everywhere, right? I personally choose to buy things on my Chase Sapphire card instead of my debit card because I want my points. I fly with United because I'm part of their loyalty program. And so when it comes to gaming, it's a case of, if you're going to do it anyway, you're probably going to play games anyway. You may as well be part of a program where you can earn rewards for it. And the actions you're probably going to do anyway, or be persuaded to now do because there's a carrot at the end of the stick guiding you through some large reward for doing something a little faster, which ultimately drives to more engagement.
Since 2 years ago, and there's all this buzz, it feels like to me, just anecdotally, from reporting and talking with people, that some of that buzz around Rewarded UA has kind of died down. And so, or at least I'm just hearing less about it. So are you seeing that things have quietened a bit from that kind of what felt like a bit of a boom period for Rewarded UA? And then if so, like, why do you think that is? Are there too many competitors kind of working in the space at the moment? Like, how do you feel about it right now?
Sure. I think the boom or the kind of buzzy time 2 or 3 years ago was because of the amount of competitors who launched. Okay? So like, us at Mistplay, we've been doing this since 2015. We were the first to do it from an O&O perspective. We built that community. People call us the OG in the space because we were first to do it. The pioneers of Playtime, some people also say, because we've used Playtime for so long. But really what happened was, as competition started to really build around 2022, 2023, that gave more of a spotlight onto Rewarded. Game publishers were trying different partners, trying different things. Now, what happened was the quick rise of a lot of those competitors led to the quick fall as well. And now as we enter 2026, it's only a very few established, I'll say, Rewarded partners remaining. And a lot of those are the ones that kind of pioneered the way alongside us. But because of that, and because it's more established, I think that's why less people talk about it, right? Like, we don't sit here anymore like 2018, 2019 and talk about the mediation wars, right? Or, oh, it's Iron Source versus AppLovin, who's going to win? Because it's over. It doesn't mean people don't use AppLovin or Iron Source anymore. Of course they do. AppLovin's a major Goliath in our industry and continues to crush. But just because we're not talking about it every day doesn't mean it's not relevant. For me, it means it's established, which is a period I think we're kind of entering into. I think it's almost there, but I think we've kind of taken one step there, which is why the buzziness around it has kind of has dropped a little bit.
Do you think, because one of the things I heard was because there was so many players in the space, it was actually hard for any player to kind of gain this kind of maybe critical mass that they needed to be like super attractive to more publishers. Are we seeing that the other side of that now? So now you're able to actually gain quite a lot of traction or more traction.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've always been a steady beast, kind of just powering along, and our focus has been on ensuring we're driving high performance for our clients who are game publishers, and ensuring we're driving a really high quality experience for our users, and making sure they're getting the right rewards at the right time and a really personalized experience. And I think because Mistplay specifically, we've kind of had our head on our own game and just focused on that trajectory. That's been what we've been doing. There's been a tremendous focus on high valued users. We're not trying to gap every player under the sun who's just going to come in and play a game and then leave after 10 minutes. We want them to come in. We want them to be sticky. We want them to play for a long time. We want them to spend, of course. That's how you drive ROAS and the big returns for our clients. But ultimately, when you look around at all the noise, it's been noisy. I think that's the word that describes it best. It's been a little noisy. Now that noise is starting to quiet down a little bit. I think the right players are emerging who are there, and those media wallets are starting to be allocated in the right way and growing, as I mentioned at the start.
That makes sense. The noise has died down a bit because now we're seeing this as strategy. I mean, to your point, Craig, I remember some shows where really everyone at some level was doing rewarded just because it was the cool thing to do and because they knew that it was rising up as a UA channel. Now, as you said, Aaron, it's there. It has arrived. It is established. Now we're looking at what's next. And that's where I'd like to go with you, Francesca, because you're looking at the product. And in the beginning, it was a UA lever. Now it's changing as studios evolve. It's becoming something more. We're talking about a monetization lever. What does that look like in practical terms for a game studio?
What that looks like for a game studio is that, to be blunt, that rewarded is no longer a source of cheap traffic. I think, I don't know if it ever was, but I do know that the users that we're bringing in through our rewarded network are becoming more and more high quality. That is our intention. That is like the focus of our product, is to drive advertiser returns. And I think that the game publisher that is looking to find new users, acquire new players via rewarded products, should probably pay attention to that. If they're not, we are acquiring more players than ever. We're growing year over year. And so I think that's a testament to two things. One, that the business model works. People are interested in rewarded products, and they love earning and playing games and finding games they like to play. And two, that does go back to the point that Aaron made, that we are more established and perhaps more regular than we were, a couple of years ago when we were maybe a little bit more new and like maybe tested.
To add to that as well, I love gaming. As Peggy mentioned, I've been in the industry a long time. One thing I've learned is that our fantastic clients will continue to raise the bar. And just as we start to show signs of goodness and things look great, that bar will be raised, and it will either be performance or scale. And so just as you feel like things are looking good and you're purring along and you're delivering a nice quality amount of installs at the right price, it's delivering a ROAS, it will be, okay, how do we get more? How do we double this? Let's keep it going. And that's a testament to the industry in itself, that there's many intelligent buyers out there who are hungry and who want to hit growth goals and who want to do more with less, and ultimately want to diversify. And so it's really interesting because it forces companies like ours to continue to be innovative, always look to what's next, always strive to what we can do that's bigger and better. Because if you don't keep up with that, you'll get squashed essentially. Like, it moves very quickly. And I don't think we'll ever hit that point of perfection, because it doesn't exist. It will always be, how can I get more players? How can I get them playing longer? And how can I get them spending more?
Well, because that's in the nature of play, really. I mean, you brought it up yourself. You do things because, I've got my frequent flyer program. I've got my points here, and it's no different in games. But one thing to pick up on that is it's now about monetization very much more than top of funnel. It's actually both, really. So then the question becomes, if it's mid-funnel engagement, if it's mid-funnel events, deeper engagement, what should we be optimizing to or thinking about or rewarding, rather than just what we did at the beginning, maybe you start, Francesca, how that impacts rewarded and what you offer. And we'll get to that in a moment. But overall, how Mistplay frames this in a rewarded environment.
Great question, Peggy. I'll start off by saying time spent is still a leading indicator of a game publisher's success and a reward for it, because there's a direct correlation between time spent and in-game IP. And so that's why we do believe in playtime as a mechanism for rewarding our users, our players. However, the goal has always been, as Aaron said, our advertisers are never satisfied. And in the best way, I was in UA as well. I had results that I needed to drive, and I was very focused on making them better every month. So for us, what we've learned is playtime is great and it works. But if we reward users with contextual events within the game, and so it could be reach board 5, or it could be, get to Monaco, just very specific to the game itself. And we reward players based on that we see deeper engagement, deeper playtime, deeper spend. And so we have fully leaned into that as a business. And so we are no longer just having a one size fits all playtime rewarding mechanism, which we had historically optimized towards the player. And now we are focusing on keeping that foundation of our tried and true playtime that we've, pioneered, that we've optimized, but also adding deeper in-game events that are contextual to where the user is, to keep them going within the game so that we can drive deeper monetization, drive deeper retention. And we're seeing a lot of success with that.
I think Francesca described it very well. And the key really is that every game's different, right? Every game monetizes slightly differently. They monetize at different points in the user journey, right? They have more aggressive ways to do it than others in some cases. And so that's why one size fits all will really not work, no matter how much it's worked in the past. You have to adapt in order to keep with the times. And that goes down as far as personalized offers, personalized live ops, not personalized just for the user, but also for the game as well. And so now as you're driving towards playtime and these events, you can get a lot more creative in terms of what you're asking them to do, and for the players, what reward they're going to get. Because if you're asking them to go pretty deep and get through some big hurdles, which may require spending some money to do so, there should be a bag at the end of it for them. And that's the way this whole designed.
So it sounds like with the teams that actually kind of work with your platform, you can't just plug into like a normal ad solution and run creatives. You have to think about it a bit more deeply. So for publishers that are kind of using, say, a Mistplay, how should their kind of UA, Admon, and product teams actually think differently?
Yeah. For me, it's not looking at us like a typical UA source, right? It's not like going to run campaigns through a DSP or a traditional offer wall. You're able to get your game in front of a community, right, of players, high-valued users. And so the messaging should be slightly different, which we provide a lot of guidance on. But really then, even after the install, once you persuaded them to install the game and they've chosen your game, it's that journey we talk about that should be personalized. Like we like to get clients live ops calendars, right? We want to understand if they're running a special event, right? I think we mentioned this Pokemon's 30th anniversary coming up, and we partner with Pokemon Go. And so when they're running a special event on the weekends, we will use some of that messaging within Mistplay, because remember, these players are inside Mistplay, checking on their rewards, looking for new games to discover. It's a great opportunity. Yes, they'll see something within the game saying, hey, just for this weekend, extra 30% off IAPs, or this exclusive bundle just for you. We can run that same messaging within Mistplay and double down on it essentially. So they may be looking for a new game to play, and all of a sudden they'll see something that says, hey, it's this exclusive weekend. just for you. Let's go do this. And then we can get them to re-engage once again with the game. So it's a much more powerful platform than just, hey, let's plug in, toss some creatives in and run some UA. Yeah, we want to make it a very personalized experience based on every game and every user that comes in.
When someone installs a game on Mistplay, they get, as Aaron mentioned, live ops messages. They get rewards that are specific to the game, personalized to the game. And so a user, players, both playing the game and encouraged to go deeper into the game is rewarded for their achievements and events in the game, but they're using Mistplay to supplement. And so Mistplay is almost like a tracker for them that tracks what they're doing. And it's also I think of it as a game as well. So players playing both Mistplay and the game itself. We work really closely with the game publishers to understand what works for them. What are the events people like? What are the events that are driving the most for you? We learn, we read, like on a game level, we analyze the data to understand what are the best events, achievements, where should we be rewarding these players? What's going to bring the most for us? What's going to bring the most performance for these advertisers? And we do that on a game by game level. Play those games. We have live ops campaigns that will communicate to the player as they're playing those games at various points to encourage them to spend, to play, to do X, Y, Z. And so we are really ingrained, I think, we are very committed to game performance, not, I think, in a way that a typical ad network is, because we don't leave the player once they've installed the game. We are still with them throughout their whole journey as they're playing. And we're optimizing real time as well. So if we see something doesn't work, we change.
I like that, like a living laboratory, actually, because you're there all the time and so you're learning all the time.
How scalable are rewarded platforms like Mistplay for the long term? Like, I guess from your perspective. So if the goal is for a publisher to you're promoting that you've got these highly engaged players and so publishers want to target those. So a publisher comes in and then they get one of those players. But if that player then actually sticks around, which is surely the end goal for the publisher, does that mean you actually lose that player within your platform, or is that not what you see?
There's a lot of users out there. I'll start with that, right? We have a tremendous marketing team, shout out to them, who are able to find high quality users in places we've found to be pretty incremental. Obviously, I can't share where those places are, but we're consistently testing new channels, new places to find these users to join Mistplay. And then obviously once they join Mistplay, the key is to retain them. And part of that absolutely is to make sure we have a big, healthy, diverse catalog of games. So our ML and recommender algos can match the users to the right game. And then as they're playing those games, we absolutely do see users come back and choose another game to install, another game to install. You know, some people have been using Mistplay for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? Because they enjoy the product and they consistently have a fresh catalog of games that they're able to engage with while consistently earning rewards in the games they decided to play with, which is great, to be honest with you. In addition, right, there's two worlds to reward it. There's O&O, where you have standalone apps, or there's the network side, right? Where, to your point, Greg, it's expensive and it's hard to grow a community and then drive those users out of your app to go and play games, because essentially are you losing those users? So you essentially want to double down by saying, look, we're going to continue to reward our users. We're going to give them incentives to come back to Mistplay. We're going to give them incentives to keep playing the games. That's all good. But you also essentially need the secondary source where you can acquire users as well and maybe show the games in a different format. And that's why we introduced Loyalty Play last year, where now it's not just Mistplay on Android, Mistplay on iOS. It's also the games being able to access external supply through our integrations, through our Loyalty Play technology, where we're putting that tech into non-gaming apps and allowing them to monetize by playing our games. So it's a two-sided strategy. And again, you guys probably saw the recent agreement we've made to acquire Connected Rewards from Mobility, which gives us access to massive incremental supply because that's how we want to grow our business, but we want to cater and serve our clients as well in the best way we possibly can. And that ultimately is, yes, we want to drive super high value, high quality users through Mistplay O&O, but also find these incremental audience through these unique placements within these extra avenues of supply as well. So it's kind of twofold, and you can blend it together, do some interesting thing with budget allocations, give advertisers different options, tie in live ops there. There's a bunch you can do, which is super excited to get to as we kind of get through this year as well.
We had transmedia and non-gaming at PGC London, and that's just it. This is going to be rewarded in non-gaming apps, and that's what this acquisition plays into, exactly that trend. If we look at not just what you've been doing through your acquisition, what you're learning in answer to Craig's question, but also just overall, what does rewarded need to look like if we want to match that interest in performance, the interest in monetization? Then, the model has to change a little bit. And what's exciting is you haven't just thought about it. You've actually been looking at your tests and testing things in live ops, as you said, Francesca, learning from what goes on, and that goes back into the product. And in prep, we were talking about things that you've seen. For example, a 50% year-over-year increase in live ops spend. That's massive. A 9% lift in day 7 spend. So these are the internal testing and the internal experimentation. How does that sort of show up in what Mistplay offers? Maybe you can start with one of your tests, Francesca.
Sure. A small correction in that the amount of day 7 spend we were able to increase was significantly more than 9%. And I'll tell you how. And this is our new kind of feature that we're launching for advertisers.
Oh, all right.
And so rewarded, it should come to no surprise that the types of rewards, when we place those rewards, how much we reward is actually really important to the way into game performance. And so we have an established Playtime, what we call an economy rewarding mechanism that, when Mistplay first started, kind of pioneered. And then there's a new kind of, what we were wondering, I'll take a step back. What we were wondering is what else will drive deeper engagement and deeper performance within the games? And so through our live ops campaigns, we learned that if we tell people what to do, then they will. And it's kind of like the following the bouncing ball principle that's really common in advertising. Like people just need to know what to do. And I think it's the same for rewarded players. We don't want, it shouldn't be complicated. It needs to be really simple. And I think Playtime is somewhat a little bit complicated. But we've simplified it, and that's why it works for us. And we've learned recently that in-game tasks are also something that improve game performance. And so we started off really simple with using kind of playtime tasks or spend tasks, or really kind of like a non-game specific tasks. And we saw an improvement in retention, spend, and ROAS for advertisers. And so that's what brought us to events. And so we thought to ourselves, okay, so we see this, we know that if we tell people specifically what to do, that they'll do it. And what happens if we tell them what to do that's more relevant to what they're doing in the game? As I explained earlier, I see Mistplay as a supplement to their gaming, not as a kind of handoff. And so, so that's what we are launching in about a month or so, is a feature called Playtime Events. And what that does is it combines playtime as a rewarding mechanism, and then also adds in-game contextual achievement events to drive deeper game performance. And what's interesting about it in the way that we're approaching it is very personal to the game. And so all of the events that we are showing to the players are game specific. And they're also based on data. They're based on what we know works for the game, based on the data that we see, and also based on what the advertiser has told us. And so we believe that this combined playtime events, we call economy, but rewarding mechanism, is going to just really drive a longer term kind of retention and performance and deeper monetization for those games. And so super bullish that we're the only network thing that does both. I think we're one of the few that does playtime. We really mastered it in terms of machine learning. But we're excited with this hybrid approach because we know we can make playtime work, and we know that events are standard for many reward networks, but this combo, I think, is going to be fantastic for advertisers.
So what do those, I'm just curious because we know about events, but you're saying, people will do what you tell them, what you lay out for them, this task or this action. If you lay it out, they'll get it. It's also a value exchange. They have to understand it. Obviously, you're getting ready and gearing up to launch this. So we can't talk about it in great depth. What does it look like, or what are these events? But you were testing this. Is there something interesting or innovative in what that looks like in practice? The types of events, how you tell them what to do, how you make them personal, because we have our live ops. But as you said, this is Playtime Events is that plus the context of the game.
Yeah, great question. So I see Mistplay as a game itself. And the way to win Mistplay is to achieve certain rewards in games. And it works best when we have great games, which we do, that users love to play. And then it also works even better when we have the right earnings and reward mechanisms for those players. And so we gamify kind of rewarding through Playtime Events. So we have like keystone events or boosted events that we want people to reach, just like they would in a game. We lock those events. We use a lot of the principle. We use a lot of the same principles that game publishers use to engage, retain, and keep players kind of in the game. And we're utilizing that with our Playtime Events feature. And so I think that's kind of, I know you guys maybe like see us as a network. I see us as a game. I see us as like a type of game to play. And so I would say that that's what we've learned so far. I mean, I have a background in UA, as we've established, telling people to do in a very clear way by giving them the value, right, pacing the value is a tried and true kind of way of advertising to people. And so we've applied a lot of those principles as well in our copy, in our design, in our experience.
So as I mentioned before, you've done several tests, right? You've also tested playtime plus task mechanics, which is kind of interesting. We're talking about always telling the player what to do. So introducing task-based incentives, that's pretty interesting alongside of time. What performance did you see? What numbers? What do you have to share from that? Because that's a pretty wild experiment, actually, Francesca.
We saw a 30% lift in playtime with that experiment. We released it, and a 20% increase D30 ROAS. And so, and that's what gives us the conviction that moving towards events that are not just like superficial events, like long-term events, D45, D90, are going to improve those metrics even more. The world is confusing enough. Like, our product is a really easy, light product where they're just playing games and they're able, and they're earning and they're having fun. And so the way that we approach like communicating to them, the way that like the playtime events feature is going to be when it launches, and the way that the hybrid playtime task feature that we have out right now is just making it like fun for them, light, easy to understand, so that they keep, within Mistplay and using, as I said, Mistplay to supplement something that they're already doing, which is gaming.
Mm-hmm. So the task is, again, it's related to the game. So you've got that personalization element that you had before from the context, and now we've got a task that fits that game mechanic. And all of this comes together because you hinted at it, Francesca, you have a product coming out, a pretty significant announcement that sort of brings this all together, because you're not just fine tuning what rewards are about. You're actually, reconstructing them based on these tests.
The philosophy that we've established and are continuing to kind of hypothesize and develop and nurture is around how we reward in general. What do we reward? What different types of rewards we can offer, and how do those rewards motivate our players, and how do they result in deeper monetization? Rewarding mechanism impacts our advertiser performance. And rewards are costly because we're giving players something for their behavior. And so the science is in really experimenting and finding the right reward, right action, right thing to reward, so that we are driving that deeper engagement, we are driving that monetization for our advertisers, while balancing kind of player needs and business. And so I would say that
something that makes sense economically is what you're saying. You can't have too much for too little, or the other way around. I'm just curious, in Playtime Events, which is what you're launching, anything interesting, amazing, cool you found out about the rewards or the mechanisms or that match? Because you almost want to say, okay, you might not tell us now because you're about to launch, but which rewards work, which ones don't, what came up here differently in how you're approaching this? Because again, you found out some gems because you have the results. I mean, 30% and 50%. These aren't small increases. So you're onto something. What can you share?
We're onto something. And to your point, there's only a certain amount we can share.
True.
But what the sauce that's cooking right now, that's coming to a nice boil, which is all very strongly about through initial testing, is also from direct feedback from the game publishers and the players. And I think that's what makes this one special. There's a synergy, there's a dance happening between what we're designing and what we're building that's been inputted directly from both of those sets. And that's really where the magic comes, right? If you can create something where it's driving a ton of extra value for our clients while creating a much more richer experience for the players, then it works. And then you can simply optimize and personalize that through our ML models. And again, through those recommendations, not only for recommendations of which games to play, but also saying, okay, this player's on an absolute charge in this game. Let's start dropping larger awards to keep them going and specific to that game. I think that's very exciting versus just play longer, right? It's a little vanilla, it's a little played out. Like, keep playing. Okay, for how long? Where do I need to get to? When do I stop? What do I get? Now it's like, here it is. I'm just going to continue to evolve in real time as they play the game. The idea of like the companion, I think, is really interesting. Like, we're a companion alongside you as you're playing the game, making sure you know what you're doing, you know where the right opportunities are, and you know what your rewards that you're getting as well, which I think is a pretty interesting take. So that's like Playtime Events, which, as you mentioned, we're launching. A lot of our partners already know about this. They've been building this with us, sharing events, getting ready for it. So there certainly won't be a soft launch. It will be a pretty big, aggressive launch as we enter April here.
There's companies coming up in the rewarded play space as well as the rewarded UA space. But it sounds like this is kind of what you're doing, right? So it's like, really don't know what to talk about, but this is why you're the experts. So I guess like you have the rewarded UA side, so the player comes in, and then now you're getting the rewarded play side, which is like the other monetization side of things. So you're now kind of covering the whole lot, right? Is essentially what you're saying, because I've seen some startups coming up in rewarded play space.
Yeah, we've always driven monetization for our clients as users have played the game. Now we're doubling down on that, and we're giving more rewards. We're making it more personalized for each game, so that whole experience is just a lot more seamless and enjoyable, quite frankly. Like if you're playing a game, like I use Mistplay. We encourage everyone to use Mistplay. I hope you guys try Mistplay after this too and find a game you like and play. And I think it'll give you the full experience understanding of like, okay, as I'm playing this game, this just feels good to A, be rewarded, but B, really understand where my reward's coming from, what I need to do, and how far I can potentially go, and the potential of what's in it for me if I continue to play this game for 30, 60, 90 days, maybe even longer. And obviously, we're a big catalog, huge credit to the games who've built tremendous monetization engines and live ops teams, and their segmentation's phenomenal in terms of understanding when to put messaging in the right users. It's not just us doing it, it's a complete collaboration. We're just trying to complement what they're already doing by giving them another arena that the users can play in as well.
Yeah,
So when you talk about cycles like that, it makes me think, okay, then this is going to be something that's relevant to all genres, but it's going to be specifically relevant to strategy, right? Or RPG, because that's where you get into the 60, the 90 days, the beyond, where you're thinking loop, and what Craig was talking about, it's going to go on for much longer, perhaps, than what we've seen in rewarded play before.
When you look at the makeup of the catalog, it's certainly dominated by more puzzle, casino, match, that kind of vibe, or the casual outside of it. But as we sniff these pockets of success with certain RPG and strategy titles, it's actually yet another reason we decided to double down and go in this direction, because the feedback from them was, this is working, but how do we get them deeper? How do we get them more engaged? How do we get them faster? And a lot of that feedback came from large RPG and strategy titles who tested us, and we weren't able to drive that engagement with playtime only. And so they said, hey, if you can design something like this, we think it's going to work. And it's yet another reason to double down on the confidence of this thing, that it's going to open up a new genre of games for our players to play. And that could obviously open up incremental audiences that come to Mistplay, which is exciting for us. But it does create a more of a holistic ecosystem for all kinds of games, not just casual players who want to play the puzzle games.
Right.
And I think these mechanisms, again, to your point, Peggy, like those are the games where the stories are deep and complex and the characters grow the further you play, and you get more and more hooked the deeper you get. So that's where we're partnering with certain large RPG games to really understand how deep, how far do we have to go? Do we offer a different kind of reward for these specific users? It's been really fascinating to go through.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, I think, if we did this podcast in a year for an update, I think you'd see a very different dynamic in terms of the amount of players playing and the games they're playing as well.
Well, because you're going beyond time spent. Time spent is sort of generic. I mean, that can be anything. But if you're going to get intertwined with the mechanics of the game, the psychology or the player type, right? You can start really getting to the point where maybe at some point, I don't know, Craig, we all see a different reward based on what we've been doing, because that's how to make it relevant. It doesn't become something super generic, because why would that really work going forward? We have everything now that's somehow related to context or how we play, right?
That's exactly right. And all of the data is obviously being fed into our ML models. We're a phenomenal data science team. And again, like you can see the magic brewing really nice. And again, once we actually launch and this kind of exponentially grows, it's only going to get better and better. The performance will only improve.
It's all about motivation. Exciting.
Just to add to the RPG strategy comment, I would say that RPG strategy games are really what inspired Playtime Events and us kind of forging the way there. We did a lot of research, player research, game research, market research on RPG strategy games.
Mhm.
And I think you mentioned it, Peggy, like it's a very personal experience. It's very specific to the game. They're telling stories, and generic kind of rewards don't work as well. But if you join your guild and do this, or you get to this kind of level, or if you unlock that, like that's a dopamine hit to the player in the game, but then they get rewarded for it in Mistplay. It's like it's win-win.
Yeah. Mhm.
Game player and Mistplay. And so that's what kind of led us to, we really do need to make it more personal based on the game, so that these RPG strategy gamers can really do see Mistplay as something that will supplement their gameplay, because they're not as interested in kind of more just earning for earning's sake. They're really invested in what they're playing.
Mhm.
And we wanted to honor that with this.
So, Craig, I guess what we're seeing here is we're just basically seeing sort of rewarded grow up and become, as Francesca said, it is part of the game. It is now in the fabric of the game. It's not just something about time spent.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. You both talk about it, and I guess we'll see, as always with these things, like over the next couple of years, like how publishers are using that versus kind of other UA channels.
Great way to get a segue into exactly one of the final questions as we wrap up, which is exactly that. Here we are heading into 2026, going off to GDC. You're going off to your launch of Playtime Rewards. I'll start with you, Aaron. How do you see Rewarded continuing to evolve now that we've established it? It's about monetization. That monetization is going to deepen. These habits are going to shift. Where's it going?
I think it's going to continue on the same trajectory that's on, which is growing more market share, growing more share of wallet, becoming more and more personalized. And I think that ultimately leads, going through the cycles of ad tech in mobile gaming, to probably more consolidation down the line. Craig was mentioning the cycles of rewarded, it's kind of hot, and then it's not. It's been on this nice upward trajectory for a while. And I used to describe it as like fashion. It begins in style, and then it's out of style, and it's in style. It's been in style for a long time. This is definitely the longest run, probably now 5 to 6 years, where it's been hot, and it continues to grow. And yes, it has its peaks and troughs, but the overall trend lines are heading up to the right. And I certainly think it's going to continue in that direction. I'm very confident to say that it will.
Francesca?
I agree with everything Aaron has said. I would add that I think we'll continue to see maybe some more personalization rewarded. On our end, we're investing a lot in machine learning in our algos to really make sure that we're matching the players with the right games, with the right rewards. For us, really kind of deepening our investment into machine learning, into our algorithms to support our reward economies, to support our recommendations, to support game performance, I think is one of our main priorities. And I think that'll take us to the next couple of years. I'd imagine that would be the same for most reward networks.
I hope you share some of that going forward. I mean, I've read multiple Mistplay reports. When I think about, okay, how are we going to get the rewards right? So it's a level of context, but also the content is fascinating. Now, how do you give people something they value while still making certain advertisers are getting value? Craig, do you want to bring us out with our questions that are standard for every show for, I don't know, I've been doing this for 3 years, so probably for longer than that.
So we have 2 questions. I guess I'll ask them at the same time, but for both of you, is finally, right, like, what is your favorite game that you're currently playing, if you're playing a game? And what is your favorite game of all time?
Okay. Ladies first, Francesca.
Oh my God.
Unless if you need thinking time, and I can go.
It's Travel. My favorite is Travel Town Merge. Like, that merging.
Yeah.
When I can't sleep at night, I just like play that game, and it's like, I don't know, it just shuts off my brain. and it's like super, I don't know, fun to play. Time goes by, and I really enjoy it. It really relaxes me. And so that's my favorite game to play.
Aaron, you're up now.
Yes, favorite game of all time. It's funny, Craig and I only met today, but we realized we're from the same town in England, and that's called Hoddesdon. And probably grew up slightly similar times. I'm probably a little older than you, but being English, having lived in the States now for 15 years, favorite game of all time has to be FIFA, because I don't think you can be from England and the suburbs of London without saying that. So haven't played in a long time, but you gave me some nostalgia, Craig, joining this call and realizing you were from Hoddesdon as well. And it just took me back to sitting in my mum and dad's house in front of the TV for hours, just playing FIFA on the Xbox 360, which is great. Favorite game right now, or like Clash Royale, on a strategy theme. We've worked with Supercell for a long time. They're great partners. And I am so entrenched in Clash Royale. So if anyone wants to game, let me know. I'm getting better. But it's a great one. The mechanics are phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah, they had a big resurgence.
Well, it has been great to have this deep dive into where Rewarded is going. The evolution's exciting. Your announcement is exciting. As I said, lift the lid on what works in Rewarded, and that will just blow us away. So thanks again, Aaron, Francesca. Great to have you. Craig, fantastic to have you as a co-host, as always. We will look for that at GDC. We're going to be there, Craig. Going to be there all day long.
Going to be there all week.
All week. Exactly. Me too. Actually, we're meeting for a couple podcasts during the show. So if anyone hears this, wants to stop by, finds us, we've got a suite. We're ready to rock. This show is all about how to do your job better, how to make an amazing game, how to market it, and you have a say. So if you have a story or know someone we need to shine a light on, then we would love to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. We want to reflect the reality of the mobile games market in all its wonderful complexity and strangeness. So if you have any suggestions for us, if you have any feedback for us, you can always get in touch. You can email us at podcast@PocketGamer.biz. You can find us on Twitter @PGBiz, and you can reach out to us through the PocketGamer.biz website. If you're interested in listening to all of our podcasts, you can find them at PocketGamer.biz/podcast, and we would love to hear your thoughts on future shows.
And we've got you covered on all the major platforms, so subscribe to the audio podcast, as Brian said. Look for us on YouTube. If you want to read it, hey, you can do that too, because we have a companion post for you as well on the PocketGamer.biz website.
Tune in again for the next edition of the PocketGamer.biz podcast, and we look forward to speaking to you in the near future.